You ruined our lives, my sister screamed, and my parents applauded like it was a toast. No one knew that moment was the exact point everything began to turn. It wasn't even handwritten. It was typed in neat, bold Arial, laminated like everything else in the perfectly color-coded binder Kelsey carried around like a bridal Bible. The paper was blush pink, the ink charcoal gray, except for the title roles: bride, groom, parents of the bride. Those were in metallic gold stickers. Mine, just Elena Logistics, standard font, no flourish. I'd seen that hierarchy before. In the 3rd grade, I planned Kelsey's entire birthday party when she got sick the day before. Baked cupcakes, inflated balloons, even cut triangles out of construction paper for a banner. But when the guests arrived and I stepped out in jeans and a t-shirt, our mother pulled me aside. "You can't be out front looking like that," she whispered. "People will think you're one of the neighbors' kids." That party ended with me sitting in the garage, eating a leftover cupcake on the washing machine while the rest of them posed for photos. This felt no different, just shinier. I arrived at the house on Tuesday morning, 3 days before the wedding, in a navy sweater and black jeans. Neutral and respectful, Jenna had advised. The front door was already open, voices rising and falling like stage cues. I stepped inside, careful not to track in mud. Linda was hovering over a clothing rack, her reading glasses low on her nose. No. The dress code for the servers is black and white," I said crisp. "This looks like someone works at a diner." Kelsey turned when she saw me. "Elena, finally, you can help us decide on a cake. Hurry, they're about to arrive with the samples." I opened my mouth to say hello, maybe even good morning, but she'd already turned away, snapping at someone over centerpiece heights. I moved toward the dining room but didn't get far. Linda stepped between me and the cake-tasting setup, giving me a once-over. "That's what you're wearing?" she asked. I blinked. "Yes?" "It's not in the palette," she said flatly, then pointed behind me. "Go check the backyard layout instead. The rental chairs were delivered an hour ago and we're still missing 2 dozen." "But I thought—" "Elena," Kelsey interrupted from the other room. "You said you were fine handling logistics. That's what this is. It's not the time to go rogue." So I went rogue by stepping into the cold and counting chairs. 72. There should have been 96. I texted the vendor, confirmed the delay, then returned to the kitchen only to find Linda marking up the seating chart with a red pen. That's when I noticed it. My name had been removed. In its place, where I should have been listed under family table, was a note in bold caps: "Staff only. Do not seat with immediate family." I stared at it for a second too long, until Linda noticed. She gave me a tight smile. "It's just for clarity, sweetheart. You'll be moving around a lot anyway. No need to worry about place cards." No need to worry, of course not. I wasn't a guest. I was a prop, part of the staging. I spent the rest of the afternoon fielding calls from the flower vendor, assembling favor bags, and coordinating a delivery that Kelsey later screamed arrived too scented. At some point, Jenna arrived with extra name tags. I tried to give her a look. Some silent SOS. But she was deep in conversation with Maya, the videographer. Linda passed them both and said, under her breath, "Keep that Maya girl away from the reception." She's still that weird camera girl. By 6, I was exhausted, my feet aching. As I finished sorting out seating cards in the foyer, I heard laughter coming from the formal dining room. I mean, she should be happy to finally be useful. Kelsey's voice rang clear. "She's always been the helper," Linda replied. "Some girls just don't have bride energy." They both laughed. I didn't walk in. I didn't throw the place cards. I just stood still, holding a stack of lavender menus with gold-foiled script that read, "The best day ever." "Hey," a voice whispered behind me. I turned. Jenna. She looked at me differently, not with pity, with warning. "There's something I need to know," she said, eyes serious. "About Grandma's money." I blinked. What? She glanced toward the dining room, then back to me. You need to see something. Tomorrow. My place. It was left in your name, Elena, but it's gone. They used it. The words came out low and steady, like Jenna had practiced saying them, or like she was afraid that if she didn't keep her voice even, I might break. I didn't. I just blinked at the printed sheet she slid across the small coffee shop table. The paper was slightly curled at the corners, printed on standard white, but the numbers on it made the whole world feel blurred. Account ending in 2173. Name on file, Elena Ward. Withdrawal amount, $28,430.74. Authorized by Linda Ward. Memo, venue deposit and premium package. Marigold Hall. The Marigold. That was Kelsey's wedding venue. High-end, historic, booked out for years, and apparently funded with money that didn't belong to her. I swallowed hard. My throat was dry, like my body couldn't figure out how to react. Not rage, not tears, not confusion, just stillness. I double-checked the routing, Jenna continued. It was her backup savings account, the one your grandma opened for you when you were 17. It had been dormant for years but never closed. I ran my fingers along the edge of the paper. I didn't know Mom still had access. She wasn't supposed to. But remember when you signed that set of joint access forms after your surgery? When she said it was for emergency use? I nodded slowly. Well, she used it. For this. A memory flickered. The last Christmas I spent with Grandma. We were sitting on her porch, drinking lukewarm cider, wrapped in blankets that smelled faintly of cedar and lavender. Don't let them tell you what to build, sweetheart, she'd said. That money's not a wedding fund. It's for your home, wherever that may be. I thought home meant a small apartment, a studio in the city, a garden maybe. I never thought it'd become this. Jenna reached into her folder again and pulled out a second page. This one was an email. Screen captured, printed. From Linda Ward to a woman named Belinda Sutton. Subject, budget note, venue. Invoice body. We've pulled from Elena's secondary account. She doesn't use it. Let's finalize by Monday. Please keep this off the main invoice thread. No need to complicate things. My hands went cold, my palms too dry to sweat. My tongue felt foreign in my mouth. You okay? Jenna asked quietly. I nodded, but it wasn't real. Nothing felt real. She knew, I whispered. She planned it, like I wasn't going to notice. She planned it because she knew you wouldn't fight. That hit harder than the money. And it was true. Why are you showing me this now? I asked. Jenna leaned forward, elbows on the table. Because you've let them erase you too many times, and I think you're done pretending it doesn't hurt. I exhaled, long and slow. You want to expose them? I asked. No, she said. I want you to choose how this ends. There was a silence. Then a voice behind me. What if you didn't have to say anything at all? I turned. Maya. She stood near the window, holding a coffee cup, camera bag slung over her shoulder. We'd met in passing. She was working with Kelsey's planner as an optional videographer. She was never invited to the rehearsal dinners, never asked to eat with the guests. I wasn't eavesdropping, she said, sliding into the booth beside Jenna. But I heard enough. I didn't speak. Maya glanced between us. You want to know something ironic? She said. Kelsey bullied me in 10th grade, made a video once, edited my voice over a pig squealing, posted it. Took 3 weeks for the school to take it down. She never apologized. My stomach turned. I didn't know. Of course not. You were too quiet. That's why I trusted you. You never laughed. She looked directly at me. You never joined in. I didn't know what to say. I don't want revenge, Maya continued. I want clarity. For me, for you, for people watching who've been silenced too long. And how would we do that? Maya unzipped her bag, pulled out a tiny clip-on mic and a GoPro. "No script," she said. "No edits. Just capture it all. The behind the scenes. The way they talk to you. The way they erase you in real time." I stared at the mic. I didn't feel angry anymore. I felt surgical, like my body had switched to some precise autopilot, emotionless, efficient, observant. "I won't confront them," I said quietly. "Not now." "You don't need to," Jenna replied. Maya leaned forward, voice low and steady. "Want me to film the entire wedding backstage? No script needed. Just keep the camera on." "You ruined our lives," Kelsey screamed across the dance floor, and my parents clapped like it was a toast. It was almost impressive. The volume she managed to summon in heels and a corset dress hybrid that barely let her breathe. Her voice cut through the jazzy hum of the reception, slicing across the champagne flutes and string lights like a bad edit in a perfect film. The music died mid-note. Someone gasped. I didn't move. Just moments earlier, I'd been setting down the last of the lanterns by the photo wall, making sure the battery packs wouldn't show on camera. I'd noticed that the table markers had been shifted out of order. The florist had left early. The vegetarian option was missing. My name tag was still nowhere to be found. But none of that mattered. Kelsey was storming toward me in full bridal fury, veil swinging behind her like a war flag. "You did this!" she shouted. "You think I don't know?" I tilted my head slightly. My hands were still by my side. "You made the timeline wrong. You changed the seating order. You ruined the place cards." I had done none of those things, but truth had never been our family's preferred currency. "And the food?" she added, spinning to address the guests, most of whom were frozen with half-raised glasses and uncomfortable smiles. "The buffet was 15 minutes late because she rerouted the delivery van. That's sabotage." Her voice cracked a little on that last word, the kind of crack that comes not from grief, but from over-rehearsal. Jenna stood nearby, holding her phone low and angled. I saw the red dot flash. REC. "Do you know how much this cost?" Kelsey hissed. "Do you know how hard we worked to make it perfect?" And then, like punctuation, Linda stood up from her table, adjusted the sleeve of her lavender wrap, and raised her voice like she was reading from a script. "We apologize," she said, "for the daughter who doesn't know her place." There were chuckles, nervous ones. One woman near the punch bowl let out an audible, "Jesus Christ," under her breath. Walter laughed. Actually laughed. I hadn't seen him speak all day. But now he looked amused, smug even, like this was just part of the entertainment. "She was always the dramatic one," Linda added, shaking her head at me as though I'd knocked over a centerpiece, not had my dignity gutted in front of 70 people. I didn't reply, didn't defend. I turned slightly, caught Jenna's eye. She nodded once. Maya stood farther back, arms folded, holding a compact camera against her chest. It wasn't pointed, just active. She wasn't directing. She was documenting. They were doing it all on their own. The monologues, the accusations, the shame parade. They didn't need help crafting the evidence. They were serving it raw, unfiltered, theatrical. I remembered the day Kelsey opened my scholarship letter, the one I hadn't even shown anyone yet. And our mother, upon seeing the words "full ride," turned and said, "Your sister deserves better. Maybe one day you'll do something useful with all that reading." The crowd began to shift. Some guests drifted toward the exits. Others looked away, fiddling with napkins, pretending this wasn't happening. Still, I said nothing. Because there was power in not fighting. Because silence in the face of spectacle makes the performer look absurd. After what felt like hours but was likely under 5 minutes, I turned. Walked past the dessert table, down the back steps, into the gravel path lined with candles I had personally arranged. No one stopped me. Not one hand reached out. The laughter faded behind me like bad music on a car radio. I didn't cry, didn't text Jenna, didn't look back. I unlocked my car, sat behind the wheel, and breathed for the first time in days. 3 hours later, a 74-second video was posted to Elena's Instagram. No caption. The clip had no voiceover, no music, just raw sound. My sister screaming, my mother smirking, my silence. No filters, no edits. Just 74 seconds of brutal, untouched honesty, caught in passing by Jenna's phone, as if truth had walked by and tapped record on its way out the door. When I woke up that morning, my phone was hot in my hand. The screen lit up like a dashboard mid-emergency. 127 missed notifications, 14 voicemails, a dozen DMs from usernames I didn't recognize. One message simply said, "This is what survival looks like." I didn't rush to open anything. I lay still, staring at the ceiling, listening to the sound of birds outside my window. My head didn't ache. My chest didn't tighten. This was silence. Not the kind that suffocates, but the kind that affirms. Grandma once told me, "Don't be afraid of silence, daughter." When someone lies long enough, the truth doesn't need to scream. I'd never understood that until now. The video had been up for less than 9 hours. It had 22,000 views. By lunchtime, it would double. By dinner, I'd be in a blog post titled, "When Family Becomes PR, a 74-second masterclass in restraint." I scrolled through the comments slowly, fingers barely moving. This isn't even a roast, it's a mirror. And they did it to themselves. Who claps when their daughter gets publicly shamed? Oh, right, those parents. I've never seen silence scream louder. I didn't reply to anyone. But I did check my inbox. A message from someone named C, editor of a digital culture site, read, "Are you the woman in the video? We're planning a feature on unspoken family dynamics. This is powerful." I closed the message. My thumb hovered over the Instagram icon, then moved to my files instead. The folder Maya had sent was labeled Footage Full Raw. The second clip was 4 minutes and 12 seconds long. No cuts. No narration. Just what had happened, uninterrupted. It started 20 seconds before Kelsey's scream and ended after I walked out the gate, the camera tilting to catch the paper lanterns glowing like moons. I texted Maya, "Elena. Still can't believe how fast that first clip spread. Maya. That wasn't even the story. That was the trailer. Elena. You okay with me posting the full one? Maya. It's yours. Always was." At 10:44 a.m., I got the first message from Linda. "Mom, what are you doing? Delete it. This isn't how families resolve conflict." Then, an hour later, a comment appeared under the original video. "Kelsey the bride. This is fake. You edited it to make us look bad." It stayed up for 3 minutes before she deleted it, but the screenshot was already circulating. I said nothing. At 11:22 a.m., I opened Instagram again, found the second clip, selected Post, Caption, Unedited, Unapologetic, Undeniable. Then I hit Share and closed the app. The first call came at 7:12 a.m. By 7:18, there were 6 voicemails. By 11:30, I'd counted 97 missed calls. By noon, I'd stopped counting altogether. My phone sat on the coffee table, vibrating every few minutes like a ticking reminder that someone, somewhere, had lost control. And it wasn't me. I watched it like one might watch a kettle just before it whistles. With curiosity, not concern. I didn't answer. Instead, I sipped coffee, barefoot, curled up on the couch, wrapped in the sweater Grandma knit for me during chemo. The same one Linda once called frumpy and not fit for holiday photos. Now it felt like armor. The second clip had passed 80,000 views overnight. The blog post from yesterday had been updated with a full timeline and embedded side-by-side footage. A psychology podcast DM'd me asking if I wanted to speak about intergenerational scapegoating. I said no. I wasn't here to become a brand. I wasn't performing pain. I was just not erasing it anymore. Jenna arrived at 9 o'clock sharp, hair still damp from the shower, holding 2 coffees and a cinnamon roll. She didn't speak at first, just handed me mine and sat down, reading through the comments in silence. "She's spinning now," she said eventually. "Kelsey posted an Instagram story. Said you edited your voice out to make her look unhinged. Said you weaponized silence." I almost laughed. "I didn't know silence was a weapon," I said. "Apparently it is," Jenna replied, "especially when it's the one thing they can't argue with." At 9:30, Linda called again. I let it ring. By 9:34, she left another voicemail, the 6th of the morning. She sounded like she was trying to cry, but the cadence was off, like someone reciting a script through a wall. "You're hurting this family, Elena. This is not what your grandmother would have wanted. She wanted unity, not division." I thought of Grandma's actual words. Don't shrink for people who only love their reflection. By 10:15, Kelsey had sent 5 texts. They weren't coherent, half rage, half desperation. "You need to fix this. I didn't know they took your money. Please just take it down. You're making it worse. Do you really want to see me ruined?" I didn't reply. At 10:45, I opened my email and found a message from an editor at Threshold magazine. Subject line: "Gaslighting isn't just a buzzword. We'd love to hear from you." I flagged it, then archived it. At 11:12, Jenna looked up from her phone and said, "They're spiraling." "Let them," I said. A soft knock on the door came at 11:20, but it was just a courier dropping off a letter. No sender listed, just my name in sharp, serious cursive. I opened it slowly. "Dear Elena, I'd like to meet. No drama. Just conversation, like adults. I think we owe each other at least that. Dad." I stared at it for a long time, not because it surprised me, but because it was the first time in my life Walter had initiated anything without being told to. It was guilt, not love. Guilt makes people formal. Jenna stood, pacing now. "You know what this means, right?" she asked. "They're trying to flip the story, paint you as unstable, reactionary, vindictive." I nodded. "But you haven't even said anything, Elle," she continued. "That's what's driving them crazy. You haven't shouted, you haven't posted a statement. You just let them be themselves," I finished. "Exactly." At 12:03, Linda called again. This time, I answered. There was a beat of silence on the other end, like she hadn't expected me to pick up. "Elena," she said, voice brittle. What are you doing?" I kept my tone flat, gentle even. "I'm only showing what you want people to see, Mom. If that makes you embarrassed, what do you think of yourself?" Click. She didn't call back. I placed the phone down calmly. Jenna leaned against the counter, arms crossed. "What do you want them to see next?" she asked. "You didn't ruin us," I told Kelsey. "You built a stage out of lies. I just opened the curtain." The cafe was nearly empty, just the faint clatter of cups being stacked behind the bar and a jazz playlist playing like it had somewhere better to be. We sat near the back, the table with the chipped edge and the uneven leg. Fitting. Kelsey wore sunglasses, though we were indoors. Linda had pearls. Walter came in a pressed shirt, like he was preparing for a deposition, not a conversation with his daughter. I came alone. I brought nothing but the envelope in my coat pocket. No one reached out to hug me. "Thank you for coming," Walter said first, folding his hands like a politician. "This got out of control." "Not by me," I replied. Linda cleared her throat. "Social media isn't reality, Elena." "No," I said. "It's just where the truth doesn't need to ask your permission." Kelsey yanked her sunglasses off. Her eyes were red. "Do you have any idea what you've done? My internship is gone. My mentor won't return my calls. Even Sarah uninvited me from her bridal brunch." "I didn't do any of that," I said, voice level. "You did." "I was upset," she snapped. "You were always jealous. You wanted to sabotage my day." "I wanted to survive it." They didn't know what to say to that. Linda looked up. Elena, if you just delete the clips, we can start over. Really, families fight. But this is public disgrace. Mom, I said gently, you didn't lose your daughter. You never had her. You had someone who nodded, worked behind the scenes, and disappeared for the photo. Walter shifted uncomfortably. You're being unfair. No, I said, reaching into my coat. But I'm finally being accurate. I placed the envelope on the table. Grandma's handwriting, curling and steady. Linda stared at it. What is that? I opened the flap and slid out the letter. You never saw this because she gave it to me the night before the will reading, I said. Told me to read it when I felt small. Then I read it aloud. My dearest Elena, you are the quiet light in this family. The kind no one thanks for warmth until it's gone. They will try to make you small to make themselves feel full. Don't. Stay tall in silence. That's your power. You are not invisible. They are just blind. I folded the paper slowly. None of them spoke. For once. Kelsey looked away. Linda blinked too fast. Walter opened his mouth, then shut it. You used to call me the shy one, I said. But what I was observant. I saw everything. I just stopped speaking because no one ever listened. Elena, Linda tried, voice thin. We didn't mean... I stood up. You meant every word. You meant it when you called me a burden. When you erased me from your table. When you used what didn't belong to you and acted like it was yours to claim. I put the letter back in my coat. The envelope, too. You were never a family. You were a script, and I'm done reading from it. None of them moved as I turned. As I reached the door, my phone buzzed once in my pocket. I stepped outside into the late afternoon light and pulled it out. New notification. Your video has reached 1.2 million views. I tapped mute all. Then I turned off the screen and kept walking. They thought silence was weakness, until it became the sharpest truth they couldn't unhear. For once, Elena didn't scream, didn't argue. She simply let the world witness what had always happened in the shadows. Because when cruelty is dressed as tradition and loyalty means erasure, the quietest person often holds the loudest power. No wall of lies can stand forever against the tide of truth. If this story resonated with you, like, share, subscribe, and let me know your thoughts in the comments below.